New York City is becoming like a gulag. You guys better get out. I'm telling you. New York City, California. I heard Australia is getting dissed. These leftists are taking over. I mean, ultimately, I know they're not. You know, there's going to be some intervention, but right now, it's pathetic. You know, when it comes to the jab, which they're making mandatory in New York City, there are reasons for that. You know, Marxists do studies. They look for levels where people are accepting their stuff, and they constantly are testing society to see how far society has gone. For example, and this is perhaps sensitive, but I don't really care. Um, when it comes to black women, at one time when women had perms and all that, and black men had conks in their hair, they were testing to see how. All right, so Luciferians or the Marxists are into self-hatred. They're into subversion anyway, like to mess with your mind and to make you think things that aren't real, to make you subconsciously hate yourself. All kinds of things are going on. So anyway, men eventually got rid of the conks, right? With women, they kept the perms, and then they got rid of the perms. Now they got a level of women who they'll, again, the feminine principle portion of everything is always external, and it's always to appear to be something, right? Okay, so it's not to become, it's to appear. All right, so the appear is black women do Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff. They want that racialist avatar of themselves, where they are really concerned with black this and all that, and power to the people. But at the same time, they try to make light of why they wear wigs or weaves that are like, with straight hair like Europeans. They'll try to say, oh, it's fashion, or the music videos are doing it. Oh, it's just a hairstyle. Like, they always will minimize things to nothing. Like, they're not thinking in depth, which women think more linear. They don't think in terms of depth. That means if I was holding right now a pumpkin seed, there are bacteria on the pumpkin seed that's 10 times smaller than the pumpkin seed itself. And then there's bacteria on that bacteria that could be 1,000,000 times smaller. Like, these things are imperceptible. That's depth, thinking in depth in that direction. Women think linear, and they're good at it. Actually, feminism teaches them to kind of almost flaunt that ability they have to think on a linear level. And that just means on the surface plane, they can think from here all the way down there, like, and from year to year. So they can think in terms of, they can remember a fight, when you had the fight, or when you met, or something. They know the color socks you have on, how you smell. Like, you can't recall it like that, because men only hold on to what's important in their minds. Women, it could be almost like a curse. They remember everything. But anyway, so when it comes to this jab, it's something that happened in men where they changed big time. They needed enough people to believe into this thing, and they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't get enough people brainwashed enough to believe in it. At one time, black people were skeptics of everything, led by the man. I have to keep pointing that out, because even the Bible talks about, like, and I'm only using the scriptures to make a point. They talk about the way of the world, the way of the man. So go the man, so goes the world, right? So women aren't going to be able to control the dictates of much, like, where we do this as women, so it's going to be this. But Marxist Luciferians try to make you believe so. They try to do everything through the feminine principle. Anyway, so it took a whole bunch of people to believe in mandatory jabs, is what I'm saying. And unfortunately, when it comes to the Marxist rule, as I said in several videos and writings, blogs, Black people have been taught to be Marxists for the past 50, 60 years, and they don't even realize it. They are Marxists, you know. So, because they're Marxists, they're more about chaos and destroying things than building things. That's what Marxists do. You know, they got this thing in Luciferianism or Satanism called Thalima. Thalima is destroy and rebuild. That's what Marxists use. I told you Marxism is like a religion. It is a religion. Or the people that believe in Marxism, a lot of them follow these religions, especially the high-ranking Marxists. The ones that are like the underling people, they don't even know what's going on. They're the ones who are getting like, they call them sheeple. They're just getting used up. Those are the first ones that the Marxists end up offing and killing. But anyway, if you look into the black community, mostly black men, a lot of black men, they're wearing masks, and women as well. They're all into the mask and all that. They believe in all the propaganda. I've heard that black people didn't totally get the jab like that, but I think a lot of black men did. And I hear from my friends and family, almost everybody did. They're encouraging people to get the jab. Get the jab. You better get the jab. Black men in the past, you realize they never believe in the government. Never. You know how hard they had to work on black men to get them to believe in the government? This is probably millions upon millions of dollars of campaigns and TV shows and all these mediums that we watch and listen to. You know, and I tell you, people don't realize how powerful these mediums are, or these forums. All the Steve Harvey morning shows and all the, like, people watch things because they're attracted to this. I call it just black. And it's not just skin color. Black is, to me, in my mind, is an entity. It's anyway, the religion of black, these people are more dedicated to black than God and everything else. So if it's black or pro-black, even if it's called that, they are dedicated to that. In reality, it's Marxist too. They created it. Marxist creates all these things. They create ideologies. They create these entities for you to believe into. And they're really nothing, or at worst, they're evil. Those things are straight up bad. But with Luciferian, bad is good, right? Marxism too. Marxism is like an ideology of backwardsness. So you believe bad is good. They've been teaching that all throughout when it comes to the black community for 60 years. Bad is good is bad. Down is up, you know, left is right. And people believe into it. But it's just like, it's so disheartening to know about New York having men. You know, you can't, like, they're saying when it comes to events, you're not going to be able to go unless you have your vaccination, passport or something like that. You're going to have to carry papers with you. You don't realize how that takes away from your freedom. I mean, it's like, I've been saying for a long time, they use blacks and women, mostly American blacks and women, liberal blacks, I gotta always point that out, and women. They use y'all to take away the rights of people. You take away the rights of yourself. You just don't realize it. I'll give an example. Okay, so you go to a job and you're working with somebody else, and he happens to be white, and you work harder than him and do better than him, but he gets the promotion, you know, and you're steamed about that, and you think it's racial. So, or a better example probably would be, you both are looking to get a job, but you notice that this guy hires the white person, and somebody else told you that they always do that. They hire a white person. So you want to start a lawsuit or something, or even go to a higher court, or have a politician like Al Sharpton or something speak about this company and how they're racist. And Al Sharpton wants to take this to a political level and talk about how in corporations they give favoritism to too many white people. They just allow them, they just give them stuff or whatever. Eventually, perhaps legislation changes policy, and maybe they make it where the person, if you're of a certain race or color, you can no longer just simply give a person a job because you feel like it. The government begins to control that sort of thing. So you have to do it, and you have to go through their standards in order to be able to hire a person. Then, as a business owner, let's say that black guy eventually has his business. What if he just wants to hire his best friend who happens to be black? He can no longer do that. You just took away our freedom, which we're supposed to have in the United States, over your small-mindedness. Again, men used to be wise. We have foresight, but we can't. These men today can't even see. They can't even comprehend what's going on. And that's why I said the pioneers of this thing, the social engineers, they made sure to make a single mother culture to get rid of the masculine energy and even make men themselves hate masculine energy. So once they took on the feminine, they see things like a two-dimensional thing. They don't look deep into anything. They see it at face value, and they can't see how it could harm society a few years down the line. It's almost like the way a lot of black women are down with the transgender woman movement. We got to protect transgender women. That directly affects you. You know? You're saying there's not enough black men, but if there's more transgender men, of course there are going to be less black men for you to suit up with, right? And that's another thing, like the Marxist movement, it got black people to believe so much into backwardsness, and it blinds them so much they can't see that they protect the very systems that hurt them. They can't even see it. George Floyd dies, and they'll burn down the whole neighborhood. It's almost like the Marxists will blow a dog whistle again, and you'll burn down your whole everything. And again, I always say it's because the men are weak. Because black women are waiting for men to become strong. They've been waiting for some time. I notice out of the people I know personally, even some family members, your wives control everything, including your daughters. And women are more liberal-minded and progressive. And that's just the way it is. That's natural. And it's not necessarily bad that they're that way, but it's bad when you're that way as a man. Because men at one time were all more conservative thinking, more traditionalist. We weren't liberal. Liberal means that you're liberated from what? You're liberated from order. But men are of order. That's what we do. It's almost like political correctness. When it comes to political correctness, men aren't politically correct. Because when you stand by truth, you're not going to be saying what other people want to hear. When you stand by truth, a lot of what you say is going to disrupt the degeneration. Every generation degenerates. As time goes on, all ideas degenerate. So what is liberal today will be conservative down the line, a year from now, because liberalism is going to step it up to the next level of degeneration, and then conservative is going to be at that level of degeneration. That's everything coming and declining in sync. So my point is to slow down that process. When men are men, them being men, for one, I think a characteristic of being a man, something that should go hand in hand with being a man. You're a protector. Women aren't required to be protectors, only of babies, right? Or their children. Of course, we got the single motherhood thing. But men are supposed to protect their families, their communities. When a protector speaks, a lot of what he says, probably the number one word that a protector says is no. Like, you can't be agreeing with everything and wanting to get along with people. Let me get along with it. These young kids, right? These young kids that go to grade school, Marxists are all throughout. All the professors, all the teachers are Marxists. So these kids are learning about there's no such thing as gender and the trans community. They're trying to teach kids about sex and porn and all that. So they're coming home and telling you, hey, there's no gender and all this other stuff. And men just want to get along, right? And men just want to, you know what? I love you no matter what. You whatever you want to do, I'm happy with it. That's not what a man is. That was what the women were. And that's what women are. And it's fine. But you're supposed to be the balance to that. You're the balance to her yin. You're her yang, you know. So you're supposed to say, hold on, wait a minute. And when I say balance, I don't mean 50-50. It's not supposed to be 50-50. That's not balance when it comes to men and women. Perhaps it's, you're going to laugh when I say this, but it's 90-10. That's how much her influence is supposed to be. Now, when I say that, it strikes women and they'll be messed up, they'll be angry and all that. That's that feminism in you. You wouldn't be with a man and call him a leader and have trouble with that. You'll have influence and he'll hear what you say, but it's 90-10. Or something around there. Maybe at tops 80-20, something like that. But I was talking with my best friend, and he's very aware of these things. When I talk about the masculine and feminine, and he told me, when you were the woman, she doesn't go with you. She doesn't go into, you don't go into her world. She comes into your world, and that's so true. If you're following a female and you're going into her world, you already messed up, because she's most likely, not all women, nothing's absolute, but a lot of women, when she sees that you moving in with her or you're going into her world, whatever that may be, she already lost a certain level of respect for you. Anyway, I went off topic. I was talking about the jab. I was talking about men being protectors. Protectors say no. Protectors, the number one word you say is no. Men are politically incorrect. So this political correctness, you see it, and this is where I say women and men see differently. On the surface, you see it as just some sort of campaign to stop hate crimes or whatever you call it, like hate speech and all this nonsense. No, it's actually a campaign against masculinity. You just don't see it. It's a campaign against masculinity because masculinity itself is politically incorrect. If a man doesn't believe in a certain lifestyle, if he doesn't believe in certain characteristics that they try to deem as good, he's going to speak and he's going to say so. It could be Thanksgiving and the whole family's around. This is how men used to be. When there was social gatherings, a barbecue or whatever, he'll be real and talk real. He doesn't care about what his granddaughter thinks. He don't care about what his son thinks. They're trying to get to his level. He's not trying to get to their level. But the world has changed and men are weak. Men act like women. They think like women. They worry about getting along with everybody. That's one of the biggest impediments. Worrying about get along. I want people to like me. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That causes me to be a bit distant from some people because I just can tell, like, we're not going to relate much. Which I could talk to everybody and I can, find something to relate to. But it's becoming serious now. That's what I see. It's starting to become serious. How liberal men, could I add that in? Maybe I'll edit this. I don't mean all men, liberal men. Conservative men, they value tradition. They value the traditional ways in which we were raised for, thousands of years. Everything that's happening now is modern. This is the stuff. This is the abnormality, what we're doing now. Even the concept of dating, where a woman just flips through. It's funny because I looked at a dating site before I got married. I was on this dating site, and after I got I got my divorce and all that. I just looked on it recently. The same women are on there. Can you imagine what they went through, what they've ran through? It's close to 10 years, and it's still on there. Like, jeez. And with all that excitement, because again, you're meeting guys. If you're a decent looking woman, some of them are. You're meeting all these different guys all the time. So, is that a real life scenario? Is that real life? Like, if you really want to get married in something, Is it going to be exciting where you're going to be meeting all these different men who are trying to court you, so they want to impress you? They're taking you to restaurants, they're doing this and that. It's probably quite exciting, like to a certain extent. It's probably exhausting, but it's sort of exciting when you meet a guy, he's good looking too, and it seems like the perfect guy, and you get into a semi-relationship and then break up again. Anyway, we can always go back and test what actually works and what didn't, because when men courted women back in the days, they had to be around the woman's father and the mother, and he would help around the house and talk to them, and he was never around her without them being around. So they got to see who he really was. He couldn't fake it much longer, and I can imagine guys today probably wouldn't even do it to begin with. But we were able to see the processes of things and what actually was more effective than others. And I'm telling you, the swiping stuff, it's not effective, but the Pandora's out the box, and it's like, to women, it's a kid in a candy store situation. So they, on the surface, it looks like they love it, they're enjoying it, but they're really destroying themselves. Because after you date a certain amount of men, you're not going to be able to bond with a person anymore, because you have so much, you're so used to that adrenaline rush from new and excitement, when in reality, marriage lasts from being able to endure the mundane, the routine, the everyday runs into one another. It's the same thing all the time. That's what a good wife knows that. But women today cultivate excitement and all this stuff because they're constantly flipping and all that, and they're meeting new people. They get on social media, they're talking to all these different guys. Why are we going on tangents? Back to the jab. With the jab, the protectors of the community, which I'm talking about black people, the men supposed to have stepped up. The men supposed to have said, we don't trust in this. The men supposed to have used their wisdom and said, hey, 99% of people survive from this. It's not making sense. Cancer was killing a lot of people. Why didn't they provide free cancer treatment for people if so many people were dying? Again, with the Democrats, their rules or their smokescreen is always, we care about so many people. We care about black people. We care about LGBTQ. We care about so many people. We care about immigrants. And people just believe it. I don't know what to say. They believe it. These people don't care. Look at their history. They don't care about you. They've been trying to get vaccines into people for decades. For decades, they've been trying to get vaccines into people. Now they fooled y'all enough. Well, again, I have to say it's the black man. Not the black man. It's the man, period. But I'm pointing to the black community. The black men got weak. The black men now have the mentality of the female. So he accepts what he's told. He likes headlines. He looks at a headline, he believes it right off the bat. He doesn't do any research. Whatever he's fed with the spoon, he eats it. That's what happens when you lose your gene or your ability to be a protector. Or you don't even know what a protector is anymore. You're so busy looking for female validation. So you guys are getting pricked. Actually, I know plenty of people right off the bat, black people, black men, who are almost bragging and putting on Facebook how they got pricked. And it's funny because I saw the video. I think Genuine, or one of these rappers, he's rapping about getting pricked and all that. Hip hop is so feminine, and people don't see that either. To be petty and care about pettiness and to care about name brands and to care, like, all that stuff is feminine. That's why marketers always worked on women first. Now they're starting to change men and make them think like that, particularly with the black dramas for men to watch, like Empire and stuff. Men rush home to watch and they don't realize they're watching soap operas, getting addicted to drama. Oh yeah, they're working on you guys. But hopefully we'll get our show out, and I'll just be ranting and talking like this because you guys need to know. And the men, I hope black men wake up. I mean, this show isn't particularly for black men, but it just so happens when it comes to these things within culture, Marxists use black people first, and they always have. Well, not that they always have, but they have perhaps for the past 80 years, 70 years. They experiment on us first because we were the most difficult community to change. And now that they changed us because they removed the man, so there's feminine energy, all this feminine energy, and the feminine energy kind of just goes with the flow. What with the appearance of being strong, but in reality it goes with the flow. With all this feminine energy, yeah, they're just experimenting one by one. Oh, I was mentioning the weave before. Yeah, black women wearing weaves. When people begin to protect the paradigms of the mechanisms that they use to destroy you mentally, your morality, self-love, they begin to make mechanisms to destroy it. Weave is one of them. And you find a way to protect that where you're going to sit there and argue or minimize it. It's no big deal and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, when you look at the fact of the matter, just while women, a lot of black women are very racially conscious and they want to talk about white supremacy and white privilege and the discrepancy. What do they call it again? When it comes to disparity in income, you want to talk about all that, but at the same time, billions of dollars are being spent on weave while you're making an excuse that it's not a big deal. You see the inconsistency? And that's what's hard for me to deal with. Like, I can't get into conversations with people because it's so easy to prove that you're full of it. Billions being spent on weave, but it's no big deal. So anyway, it's a psychological damage to these women. And I'm not trying to point it out to hurt people either. I'm just pointing it out so that we're aware, particularly the men. Like I said, women are going to do what they do, and that's all right. Things will change when you change as men. Anyway, I got long-winded again. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to sign out. I don't even know if I'm going to post this up. I just kind of went off. Anyway, you have a good one.